forget the look on his face that day. He was scared. More than scared, he was terrified.
Did everybody eat good for Thanksgiving? I ate good for Thanksgiving. I ate well, and I sat down and I watched me some Stranger Things. So congratulations. Now you're going to get a bunch of videos about it. So I feel like in order to talk about this, we have to wind the clocks back to season 2. Because throughout this entire season, Vecna's been, good old Henry, has been running around kidnapping kids. And we're going to make another video about what the plan is for the children, but I really feel as though we need to talk about why he's been kidnapping children. And the why begins back in season 2 with Bille. So if you remember, during season 2, he was infecting people and putting them basically under the control of the Mindflayer. These individuals became known as the Flayed, where they had the single-minded goal of completing whatever the task that was set forward for them by the Mindflayer was. And the level of control was so deep that when the Mindflayer basically decided, okay, I can't rely on you human meat puppets anymore, I'm going to need all of you to give me your meat. Look, is it weird that I said that? Yes. Is that exactly what happened? Yes. And he basically created for himself this giant amalgamation of his, can we call that a spiritual form? The Mindscape form, the Dimension X smoke form, in the physical world using the bodies of all of those individuals. He did not convert Bille because Bille was essentially the first acolyte. It was the tip of the spear. It was his best and strongest soldier that he'd invested the most time into that got as many people flayed as it did. However, something interesting happened in the mall, which is the total control that Vecna slash the Mindflayer had over Bille was essentially broken when Eleven reminded him of his mother. Those past experiences allowed Bille to basically shrug off and get away from the control of the Mindflayer and rebel against it, essentially sacrificing himself long enough for our cast of heroes to essentially take down the main big bad villain. Then we got a little bit more information this season, which I love the fact that our girl Max is still alive, and we're probably going to make a video about how exactly she did survive, truthfully how she did survive, because there's multiple things happening with a little bit of luck. But Max's backstory about how, as she was running away from Henry inside of his own mind, she reached this cave and he looked absolutely terrified. He was scared of going into the cave. And because he was terrified of going into the cave, Max essentially used the cave as her base of operations inside of Henry's own mind. A small pocket inside of his mind that was protected from the monster that is Vecna. But why the cave? I believe that the cave is the initial place where he fell into Dimension X, where he first encountered the Mindflayer. Because for his backstory, we know that at some point in time he encountered the Mindflayer, and this encounter fundamentally changed the way in which he viewed the world, which is the whole alpha predator, apex predator mentality, where humans are essentially ants going against the greater machine that is the universe, did not set in until whatever had occurred to him inside of that cave. And when he came out of the cave, we basically got the evil version of the character that we've had for the last few seasons. That cave is the initial trauma. That cave is the initial fear. And the reason why I feel that is the case is because of the conversation he has with damn, can't remember his name off the top of my head, with Will. which is he tells Will that children's minds are just so much more malleable, so much more easy to break, so much more easy to mold, the same way I broke you. That tells me he is not speaking from the experience of what he essentially did to Will. He is speaking from the experience of what had basically happened to him, which is he was a child. It's one of the reasons why he's targeting these really, really young kids between the ages of 9 and 11, because that was around the age he was when he fell into that dimension, when he was broken by the Mindflayer, and then when he was essentially sent back. He's kidnapping children to avoid the situation that occurred with Bille, where Bille had too much experience. He had too much emotional attachment. His mind was too strong because he was older. Where now he's like, okay, if I can't break adults the way in which I want to, because there's always the chance that that adult may shrug off my influence because of some emotional attachment that they had in the past. Well, now I know from my own experience and from my experiments with Will that I can kidnap children and I can break them and I can mold them and I can turn them into the batteries slash soldiers that I want them to be, so that they can see the world the way in which I see the world. And it's all experience feeding into trauma, causing even more trauma and some shit that he's going to experience going forward, because Will is about to be on his ass. But that's the reason why he's targeting the kids. He's targeting the kids because, number one, he tried this before with Bille. It did not work. His most powerful soldier rebelled. And if his most powerful soldier is able to rebel, that should tell him that if I was to do this again, and let's say I was to take one of the adults, one of the Wheelers, and I put them up against their kid, their connection with their child, their love for their child may cause them to basically shrug off my influence while maintaining some level of power. Because remember, Bille still low-key had super strength to be able to hold back the Mindflayer. So now, how about I take the children? How about I influence the children? It's one of the reasons why he's showing up as this like nice, benevolent figure, attempting to ingratiate himself with them so that they fully trust him, so that when he finally pulls the curtain back and he breaks them, they are, funnily enough, this actually ties into Halo with how the UNSC kidnapped children because children's minds were easy to basically mold into the child soldiers they needed the Master Chief to be. It's essentially the exact same thing that's happening here, where he's kidnapping the kids, he's ingratiating himself with the children, he's getting them to rely on him and see him as this good, benevolent figure, and then he's going to mold their minds to turn them into the soldiers or the weapons that he wants them to be, to enact his greater plan of essentially wiping out all of humanity. But that's the main reason as to why he's doing the things that he's doing, why he's kidnapping the children, why he's not using the flayed method that he did during season 2 with the adults, because he saw how that could fail in regards to the adults. But the funny thing is, he's not seeing how his current plan would fail because he's not taking Will seriously. Will, if he was to stop and honestly look at Will, he would realize that the plan he's working on right now could still fail, because Will, even if he looks at him as a failure, is his first success, because he was able to take a child, he was able to break that child, he was able to mold that child, and then he lost all control of that child inside of the hive mind. And I feel as though the next person that he's going to lose control of is going to be Holly, because of the time that she's spent with Max inside of his own mind. And Holly may end up being the next person that who basically gains power inside of the hive mind, that's able to break away from him and then command it in some way, shape, or form. But let me know what you guys think about the video. We've got a bunch of them that's going to be dropping about Stranger Things over like literally the next day. Comment down below, let me know, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.